Welcome everyone to our very first podcast of the Shapeshifters of Rathe. We're here to talk about cosplay and fab for the last month as cosplayers in this community. I'm joined by John and Rachel, who have both competed in Pro Tour Baltimore and done very well for themselves. Rachel getting first and John getting second in the cosplay competition. Introductions. John, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Jonathan Alexander Vamos on Facebook. John Alexander is my Discord, Twitter, and Instagram handles. I'm a judge from Canada, Toronto area. That's one of the reasons why I picked Typanis as my cosplay. I've been playing since Monarch Unlimited came out. So we were kind of still locked down from COVID, so there's a lot of online play there. It's been hard keeping up since I've been back at work, but I try to get, some games and some hobby time in when I can. I don't really know what else to say about myself, but
yeah. And Rachel, we've had you here before, but we were only able to get voice recordings. So you have been one of our cosplayers of the month. The very first one that had a recording, but only voice.
Yeah, no, I'm here in the flesh and blood this time. And my name's Rachel. I'm from the Chicago area in the United States. I go by, my screen name is typically MaxFerocity. Most people know me by. I can be found as MaxFerocity on Twitter as well as Discord if anybody's ever looking to reach out and say hi. I am not a judge, so don't come to me for any play advice. You may be steered wrong, but I do, of course, love playing. I play about 3 times a week in our local LGS, which is Min-Max. And it was exciting to come out to, Pro Tour 3 this time around to bring a much bigger version of a previous costume that I've been kind of known for, which is Dash. So really excited to be here chatting with you guys about the experience we had.
Yep, and forgot to introduce myself. So I'm also a cosplayer based in New Zealand. I've been cosplaying since 2019, where I had a costume made with duct tape and weird stuff. I primarily do Azalea, and I'm all the way down here in New Zealand and get uber jealous when I get all these events everywhere else. But I'm really glad that you guys include me in the experiences with the photos and communications. So we're going to start off with our buildings for going to Pro Tour. So the first thing that was a bit new this time was that we had some guidelines, a little bit of rules. How did that affect you guys this time? John?
So I wasn't too worried because I made everything by hand anyways. We kind of picked out this really nice snake fabric for the draconic outfit, which I thought was really sharp. Doesn't really show up in the photos, so you won't see it in the photos, but if you walked up to me in person, you could have saw a little bit of the shimmer scales in the fabric. So we designed the whole outfit from scratch. I found some traditional Hanfu patterns for some anime cosplay that I kind of adapted into the base clothes, and then the sleeves and then the red over top were kind of just done from scratch based from sketchings that Federico gave me. I ended up buying shoes, but again, with 75%, shoes and a wig isn't really going to tip you over. And then the only thing I was worried about was the performance, because I've never actually cosplayed before. This was my first time. Yeah. And I wasn't really sure what to expect from the judges when it just said you have to embody the character. And I was like, well, what do I do? Some characters have, short stories or a little bit more to go for them. Typanis just has his hero art. So I really didn't know what to do. And the whole time I was in line, I kept talking to everybody. I'm like, I don't know. Should I walk up like a crotchety old man or should I be stern? I don't really know what to do. And then, so when I walked up on stage, I was like, I'm going to approach it like a runway. So I basically just stood up there with my staff, kind of just shifting my stances every few seconds, looking at different people, just to kind of give a bit of movement. But realistically, to embody the character, I just have to stand there and look stern at people, but I can't just look too static, right? So I was like, I don't really know what to do. But I know when I first walk up there, I kind of just slammed my staff down because I was like, I need to try to command presence. And then I think the last thing I remember was Flake saying now that's how you embody, the art of the card. Because I was standing there, I flicked my sleeve back, pointed the staff at somebody, and then that was the end of my thing, right? But that was the only thing I was worried about because I didn't know what to do. So But
Yeah, that was a big thing that we had with Auckland. That's why I don't know if I was the only one approached LSS, but I said we just need to have some guidelines so people know what to expect when they're going to these events. Because we found out rather close to our judging time that we were going to be doing a performance, and a couple of our people that I thought should have placed a little bit higher than me, the person I got third equal with, if they'd known there was a performance, would have placed a little bit higher.
was that the Guinness?
No, Janice came second. It was the Briar.
Second? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Right.
I think Briar should have been higher because she didn't know all of the embodiment of what was to happen. Rachel, how did you find the new rule set? I mean,
yeah. So the 75% didn't worry me because, quite frankly, it's really hard to go to like your local hardware store and buy a mech unit. Like walk in, like, yes, I would like your finest mechanologist nitromechanoid. That doesn't really happen. So I really wasn't that concerned about the 75% rule. I guess the only things that concerned me, well, one was there is a subset of the rules that says, hey, you can't reuse a costume you've won with. And so I previously placed second with Dash. Now, I kind of worked it out in my head, like, you're not playing Dash. You're actually Dash playing as the Nitromechanoid. So it's a very meta costume because I'm coming as my original character persona in a costume. So it's really funny when you think about it, kind of like a sub-costume within a costume. So that was the only thing that worried me a little from that perspective. Otherwise, everything, like, just to like what you were talking about, John, like it, the amount of work that goes into this, the amount of patterning and research, there's not a lot out there to start from, everything was from total scratch. Even my shoes were made from hand because I mean, they're size, I don't know, what is it? 22 triple E. I don't know what that size is for a robot, like 18 to 19 inches long. I think they kind of have to be made. I couldn't go to, like Nike and buy them. But, so like construction wise, I wasn't really worried at all about that rule. And I thought it was honestly a necessary rule at some point because, we want to make sure that we're all starting on a level playing ground. That doesn't mean you can't, buy something, alter it, do things that make it unique and work on it hard. And I think we'll probably talk about that at some point. But, making sure that just people all have a level understanding of what they're expected to do from a construction standpoint, I think really makes the whole thing much more fair. And so I appreciated that. The only one that really kind of stood out to me as a worry, and this kind of went around because we talked about it a lot, was the performance aspect, but not so much the performance, because I was kind of like, okay, well, I can do some poses. We're going to saw at the air. We're going to, use the hand and give people spirit fingers, all that kind of stuff on stage. I've got like I think the hands behind me right here, give me some spirit fingers. But that wasn't what worried me. It was, we found out, and it wasn't part of I guess it was part of the later rules, but you had to be able to get on stage to embody the character, and there were stairs and no ramp. So I kind of assumed the stage would be accessible. It was not, but I ended up doing a lot of last minute alterations to the costume to make it able to climb stairs onto the stage, which was probably not, like OSHA approved for the types of work stilts I was using, but I did manage to climb them unassisted. My friends took my hands off my arms. I was able to grab the railing almost like a walker and walk myself up, but that involved actually taking like the shoes themselves and breaking them in two, and making the pad that they sit on shorter to fit on a stair, as well as making the toe cap removable so that my assistant could reach down, pop them off, and just slap them right back on using powerful magnets, so that like they wouldn't have to fiddle with them once I got to the top. So that was like the one part that really threw me last minute, and it required me to really literally re-engineer like the entire base of that costume, because there was so much actual literal engineering that went on in this. I didn't expect it, but hey, it was very Dash. So I guess I embodied it by, kind of tweaking it last minute. So that was what worried me. But otherwise, I was really appreciative of, the rules being put out there early.
It's good that they did put it out that it was going to be on a raised stage. Yes, the lead out time wasn't ideal, but at least they did let you know you didn't turn up and then, oh, look, there's stairs. So I guess
it's better than a surprise.
I know. Well, and actually,
surprise.
I think it came out because I did reach out to someone and say, is there going to be like a ramp? I kind of had a suspicion that they were kind of elevating this, in stature, and that there might be an elevated stage. So I reached out to a couple people I knew, and they kind of got back to LSS, and lo and behold, some words on that came out. I can't say it was related, but I'm guessing it was because I asked. But I would say, if I had to put a plug in here for the future, not just for myself, because next time I'm not getting on stage in a robot, I'll tell you that. Well, maybe not anymore, but just
maybe a
like
smaller one.
Yeah, maybe a smaller one. It's just to maybe think about those in the community that might have differently abled is just what I would say. That would be my only concern for the future for something like that. Is I've met people in the community that I love conversing with that say, hey, I want to do costuming, and I know that they have some limitations in their physical mobility. And so I would just ask that anybody seeing this, just maybe in the future, maybe consider what we would do in a situation like that. Like for me, it was an optional to be an idiot and get on a 1.5 stilts. But for some people, with mobility issues, that's not optional, climbing stairs. Yeah. So I would hope we'd have a contingency for that down the road. It's just the only plug I would make for my friends in those situations.
I think even one step further, like obviously I think numero uno is the differently abled, obviously. But I found even my costumes had like really long sleeves, and it was really wide in the shoulders. I found even walking up those staircases were a little bit narrow.
Yes, so that's why my arms had to come off.
Yeah, so even for people who don't have removable costumes, I found like those stairs could have definitely been better even for us. Obviously, though, if we want to be inclusive, we want other people to be able to participate in the contest as much as possible as well, though, too. So.
Yeah, it was the wording in the rules that kind of threw me a little bit, where it was saying, hey, if you want to get any points in this category, you have to be able to make it up here, and I'm like, ooh.
Oh, yes.
And that felt a little harsh, and I'm sure if it came down to it, they would have done something about it, because LSS is very inclusive and wonderful. So just putting it out there for anybody, putting language out there in those rules, just to make sure that people don't feel like right off the bat, if they're reading like, oh, should I even try? I don't want anybody to ever feel like that, because cosplay is for everyone.
Cosplay is definitely for everyone. This one actually came up. I put it on our Discord, what kind of questions do you want to ask our cosplayers about going to events? And one of them was about traveling to events. So I know I've only done driving down and flights. Flights are harder with props. I found it really hard to, I had to register my bow as sports equipment to get it back from Wellington. So I understand there's like a few little and I know you, Rachel, had a particular different trip this time to try and get your gear there. You couldn't fly, I understand.
Yeah, I guess I'll start off with this one. So it is hard no matter what your costume is, I will say, unless maybe it's pretty small or just kind of a clothing aspect to travel with. Like with Dash, it was already difficult. I already used a pretty big case to make sure I didn't crush like all of my armor and put bends or problems in it. And even then, it did get damaged, both times I brought it places via flight. But with the Nitro Mechanoid, it fits into 3 containers that are about 36 by 20 by 20. So they are huge bins. I have a pretty big SUV, and it was packed to the gills with it. So I was unable to fly. I absolutely had to drive. And I said, is it worth 12-hour drive, potentially by myself? Because up until the last minute, I didn't have a partner to drive. And I said, well, heck yeah, it is worth it, because, I really love these events and I really want to share this. So I did do that. But my advice just generally would be one of the things that I thought about, I tried really hard to see if I could, pack it down a lot smaller. And one of the things I would say is, as you're planning out your costume, think about, are there ways that I can make this break down? I know we talked about this, John, and I'm sure you'll go next and talk a little about it, but can you make your props break down? Can you use things like threading on stuff or magnets? And even though my stuff looks like solid one piece when it's on me in a lot of ways, that saw is 4 different pieces. It can actually break down further. Parts of my legs actually break into smaller pieces, and it uses a lot of neodymium magnets to do so. And so just think about that as you're laying out, because it's a lot easier to do it up front. It might take a little, brain working time to think through that engineering and how you can hide it. But if you try to do it on the back end, it's going to be a lot worse. So just, that would be my advice. There's a lot of great videos out there on YouTube to watch about how to pack cosplay, how to make things break down using magnets and different things, and just think through that. And then also, of course, the one factor for me, and it might be for others in the future, is batteries. I use a ton of lithium batteries in my costume. Those can't easily be packed or flown. You can bring them on the plane depending on what they are and if they're protected. But think about that too, and what you're bringing as far as potentially hazardous materials and flying. Think about that.
I lost batteries because of making the wrong decisions. For my live wire bows. So I understand that one.
Yep. So I actually ran into a little bit of a problem transporting my costume. My staff was originally supposed to be removable into 3 pieces. I posted some photos of it, but I was touching it up from the work I did last year because I wasn't happy with how it looked at all. And so I took it apart, and I was, I redid some of the foam around the base of the dragon to make it look like one solid piece instead of a couple warped pieces. And because of that, I wanted to repaint part of the staff. And then I did some weathering too. And then so when I had it taken apart, the repainting made it hard. So I had to replastic up some pieces, and then it made the refitting really tight. So once I got the red and the black back together, it wouldn't actually fit tight. I actually had to cut a bit off so that I could wedge it in. So that's never coming apart now. But the top is actually threaded. It's, again, supposed to be removable. But because I guess there was just some buildup of residue of overspray in some of the threads, I tried to clean it out with needles. I had to jam it on just to screw it on, and I can't unscrew it anymore. So now I've got a 7-foot staff that I have to transport. And so we really had our fingers crossed for a rental SUV, and we didn't get one. We got a sedan. And then so we had to make sure the seats were down, and we had to wire it through the trunk, and it basically went all the way up to the driver's seat. And then so we had to wrap it in blankets, and because we meant to buy bubble wrap, we didn't. So we wrapped it in like just soft stuff. And then on top of that, my shoulders are over 42 inches. So I had to find a bin that would fit them. So I found a bin that was 42 by 20 by 20. And I think, or it might've been like 22 by 20. And it actually has to fit on an angle. So that's how I know they're just over 42 inches. And this bin wouldn't fit in the trunk of the car. Again, we were hoping for an SUV. So we had to fit it in on an angle in the back seat, and then the passenger seat had to slide as far forward as they could. Then we had to turn it sideways, and the person sitting beside the bin was so uncomfortable. But it was the sacrifices we had to make to transport my costume. And the one regret I made is my sash, the little belt that goes across. It's actually connected all the way to the shoulders. That's kind of what gives it its rigidity. So it doesn't flop around. If I were to do it again, I'd probably do the shoulders in pieces so that they were removable, easier. It would be easier to paint, and I wouldn't need such a big bin. So that's something I learned in my journey here. So if I'm invited to future events to dress up as Taipanis, it's definitely going to be a bit of a struggle, but I'll try to make it happen. Because it is an awesome costume. But I definitely ran into some struggles with transportation, that's for sure. And I think if I was flying, it would be even harder. The bin, I mean, I might be able to package it in a way that it could be flown with some padlocks and stuff, or maybe zip ties, and put some zip ties in the bin for customs to re-zip tie it when they're done inspecting my bin. The staff, I don't know. I mean, I would probably have to do what you did and register it as like some sort of, piece of sporting good, and then I don't know how I would package it, but it's definitely fragile, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've also had some big announcements for this coming month that happened at the dinner. So we have had some new artworks and new characters. What's our views on this new characters for the new set, and what the feel is for the light and dark? I mean, I kind of like the Vin set.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm loving the Vin set, though. I'm already concerned about the talk on the cosplay Discord of how can I more realistically portray Vin set. I don't want to see anybody piercing their arms, blinding themselves, shaving their heads.
Shaving their heads.
But they're bald caps, guys. Come on, theatrics has a set. But no, I think they're really, really cool. I'm loving the art, especially on Vin set. I love dark things. I mean, look behind me, I look very like peppy and cute, but I am all about the dark aesthetic, and I'm loving that. So I'm really excited for the new characters, the new art, to see all the descriptions on them. I mean, June 30th is like circled on my calendar in red right now, and I'm sure it's that way for like everybody else in the community.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what the adult prism is going to look like, because we've only seen the new young prism. The one thing that I think is super interesting though is she's got real wings this time instead of ethereal wings. Definitely changes up some of the costumes that you can do with her. I think it's kind of cool. I mean, both are female, and I'm not super into gender bending myself. I think I prefer Vincent over the new prism, so I can't wait to see what people do with Vincent. I know I'm probably not going to dress up as either myself, but
do we think there's going to be some more light and shadow characters besides these two? Maybe there might be a male something.
I got my fingers crossed. I've got a lot of theory crafting. I mean, like, I know they've said that they're going to focus on existing classes. So it's like, is there going to be new classes? Probably not. But I mean, like, there's still a shred of hope that maybe they could do like a light cleric or a shadow necromancer and just give them no support. So it's not like they're supporting a new class, but they can still give us the class, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Those would be really cool ones to introduce in this set, because I think cleric is super light themed and necromancer is super shadow themed. So if they're going to do it, now would be the right time.
Yeah, give me a shadow mech that's like a biomancer, you know, like similar to what, like, you know, like looking for scrap looks like, or something like that. Like I want something like that where it's like, okay, we've got a biomancer, they're replacing, you know, parts. So I think it'd be really cool.
Well, I think there's one of them in the Demonastries lore page that talks
my
about
husband wants
metal
Steve.
constructs.
My husband wants Steve. Have you read that in the Demonastries? He's like, I want Steve. So
out of all the names, it's everybody and then Steve.
Steve, my husband's like, if you get on a video, like, can you give a shout out to James and be like, James, we want Steve, please. So that's what my husband said. So James, if you're watching, Steve, the community, they wish for it.
I think the necromancer, I think it's the one who actually kills Minerva Themis in the short story. I think they seem really undead, so it's hard to gender them, but I think they come across as a male to me in this story. I'm not 100% certain though, so I don't know if I don't want to gender them myself, but if that is the first necromancer though, I think they even have like an open rib cage style thing in their art. Maybe they're tentacles, but it could be cool.
Yeah.
So
so that was pretty exciting, Simon. We didn't get a world's date, which was
I was really looking forward to that.
Venue.
I've been saving up my vacation days to see if I could actually make this one. And I know James said that, or an article said that they would announce it at this event, and they didn't really. They kind of did, but not. So still waiting.
I just really want a date really bad. Like, wherever it's at, I'm in. You know, I just need the date to try and get it on the work calendar. So
exactly. You know, and I mean, if somebody else has already booked it off on my shift, I can't go. So that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Cross fingers.
Can I get it off? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't going to be going, but I think for the cosplay community, it's good to have that lead out, because we also have to be more planned about, you know, what we're taking with us. If we're taking costumes, I know for you guys, it's across a great distance. So, I mean, it's as far as I have to go almost. So it is a bigger outlay to be able to go to Europe. So it would be nice to have that. Hopefully in the future I will be able to get across to the Americas, but it's not happening.
Someday we want you here, Lynnette. We want you to come out.
Someday I want to go to New Zealand, so I would love to go to New Zealand for a con. I know it's super expensive, but I mean, like heading to the mothership too, and then it's also on my bucket list just to be in New Zealand. In general,
my husband and I are big hikers, and I'm a big Lord of the Rings person. Three reasons now I have to go there. So
yes, definitely. So that leads us on to the actual PT as a whole. So there's a lot of different facets that happened at PT. So we've kind of touched on the cosplay competition and so forth, but we'll come back to that. Is there anything else you really enjoyed? Because we are players primarily. Did you participate in other parts of PT?
Yes.
I did. Oh yeah, sorry. I did a bunch of side events because I was trying to get tickets for my partner to win the embodiments for her Briar deck. I spent all my tickets on her, so you know she can't really be too upset about helping me with my cosplay anymore. But so I did all the sealed events just because like I didn't want to have to lug around decks if I didn't have to, even though I did that anyways. So it was like a burden on my shoulders. And then I did a couple of the qualifiers for the alpha draft, and I actually won it on the Blitz one. So I got to do the alpha draft, which was pretty fun. I didn't really pull anything too crazy, but I got some really cool pink cards. And then I came second place in that event, even though there wasn't really any placing prizing. And then I think my favorite, though, I wasn't really playing, is getting to meet Federico, because I've been emailing him back and forth for the last year about working on his costume. So actually, the fact that he was at the event really made it for me. So we got some really nice photos with him. So that's what I liked.
Yeah, he's a very cool guy. Like when I first did Lexi, I emailed him. He's like, look, I'm on holiday. I'll be back on this date. I'll send you. And he sent me so much information, and I sent him back. And he's really good to communicate with. It's one of my people I need to meet. So a little bit jealous. Rachel, and what were your experiences outside of cosplay?
Yeah, so normally I'm a grinder when it comes to this game. When I went to Nats, I was actually in Nats. I made day 2 of Nats, so I had to play it in my costume, and that was insane. So normally you'll find me at the tables 24/7, and that was actually a problem at Indy because I wore Dash for funsies. There was no contest, anything. Just wanted to bring it to the masses because I knew it was gonna be a mixed event with Magic, and I got a lot of interest, by the way, from Magic people just coming up to me like, "What is this?" And so that was awesome to get to explain the game and try and convert some people because of the costume. But the problem was I spent too much time at the tables at that event. So people were like, I didn't get to see you between. I wanted to take a picture and you were always playing. This event, I didn't play as much. I played on Friday. I did the Commoner event. I actually did not expect it to be as big as it was. They had so many people that it went to 7 rounds. And so I had stuff waiting in my hotel room that was broken that needed to be worked on. So I was kind of freaking out. And then I made top 8 on it. So I was like, oh no, like, this is great. I'm so excited to play the Commoner for the Wraith, World book, which I already have one behind me, but my friends need one. I didn't make it, but the girl who actually kicked me out in the first round of the top 8 went on to win it. So I'm so happy for her. She was so excited, and that's awesome. She came up to me on Sunday to show me the book, which is super cool. I spent a lot of the event after that until like midday on Saturday in the room fixing broken things on the mech. Unfortunately, some switches went out, some of my soldering joints broke. Bad on me for how I transported it last minute. I busted a couple of switches and things. So I ended up at Micro Center just outside of Baltimore at like 8 at night on Thursday, and part of the day on Friday I was there again just picking up materials to resolder everything in my hotel room. But it worked out. So I did get to play in the Commoner event. That was almost like my whole day Friday. Saturday I didn't play at all because the mech obviously is huge and takes like a crew to get me into it and walk around, and so I was in that. Sunday I played a bunch of little side events. I actually played against your partner John. She seemed really happy, so I'm guessing she had the embodiments by then, so she was super cool to talk to, very nice. And so we were talking a little about your costume and transporting it, so that was fun to hear from her perspective as well. So
she was the one who sat in the back, so
it was cool to meet both of you. So that was my experience. So this is the first time I've gone to an event like this, and I've gone to a lot. I try to go to every calling I can get to and everything, where I played pretty much only side events. So that was a little weird for me. I'm getting ready, gearing up for Road to Nationals right now. I want to try and make it again, but we'll see. Either way, I'll be costuming at US Nats. It's not a question. It's just how many will I bring. So.
Yeah.
Oh, and Federico, I have a Federico costume I want to do later this year, so I think I'll be reaching out to him soon.
All right.
Yeah. That's a great thing about these events is that they do bring in all the artists, and it is great to talk to those people that we're bringing their stuff like to life as well, and it's great to talk to them. There was a really good suite of artists at this event, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was actually interesting because when we walked in Saturday in the costume, like I talked to Federico on Friday saying, I said, hey, by the way, I'm the one who was emailing you. I've been working on the stuff, and I basically bought every Typanus thing he had to sell. So I basically emptied my wallet there, and then he was super excited, looking forward to it. And then so the next day, I don't know who his manager is, if it's his brother, his friend, or I don't know, but whoever his manager was, Federico was busy signing stuff, so he's like tapping him on the shoulder and he points. Federico just dropped everything, got out from behind the table from signing stuff, and then just started like poking at my costume and was like talking to me about it. And then he wanted to take some photos and he wanted to hold my staff. And then I thought it was just like so awesome that he just dropped everything. Like he didn't care about the line of people who were coming to see him anymore. He wanted to come look at the costume. And then we got a photo with him, and my partner brought an Instax camera. So we printed out the photos and we got Federico to sign one. And then we gave one to Federico. And he actually asked me if I would sign his. So he has a photo of us with my signature on it, which was kind of cute.
So cool. Sam and I did a similar thing at Worlds. He wasn't at this one, so I was a little sad that Sam Yang wasn't there for, be able to see the mech. I would have loved to have shared it with him, but I know it's a long way from New Zealand and they can't bring everybody from LSS. But when I did that at Worlds, he did the same thing, like stop, like let's go take a picture. There's some pipes over here. Let's do a photo shoot. And it was so fun. And so I love seeing like how excited the artists get, because it's like, I don't know, I'm honored to be cosplaying their work. I'm sure you feel the same. And then they have the same reaction about us doing it. It just feels so like, I don't know, it's a big love fest. I love it.
Yeah. Sam's great. Because I am in New Zealand, I've actually reached out to him a few times for help. I went to what our local con is called Armageddon, which is a bit like a Comic-Con. I met him, but I didn't know that it was him. Someone said to me, "Oh, this person's looking for you," and he was on the artist alley. And when I met him, he was just so like blown away because he'd done Remorseless, and so I was dressed as Azalea, so we had to get a photo. So the same kind of thing. All the artists just really love seeing everything brought to life. So it's kind of great. And they're all so friendly, our artists. We're very lucky. So we'll go into the cosplay. Being in cosplay on the Saturday, our experiences. I know from the Discord that there was varying experiences. Maybe we should just talk about how people should approach cosplayers, because unfortunately I don't think there was all positive experiences on the Saturday from what I've read. I don't want to point fingers or anything, or I mean, if you want to speak about experiences, that's fine. But maybe we need to educate people about appropriate behavior.
So I think maybe I'll just say something first, because I don't really have a whole lot to talk on here, because I don't know, maybe if it's because I'm a male, people don't really pick on me too much. I don't gender bend costumes either, which could be another issue with maybe some community members. So I haven't really experienced this myself. I did see some stuff, which is really unfortunate. The one thing I do know is that those members of on Saturday, they were people who walked in off the street, so they weren't actually there for the convention itself. So I don't know if there were any gamers who misbehaved. I do know that the big ordeal, though, was a bunch of people who walked in off the street, which is really unfortunate that happened. But I know other people could speak to more specifics on it, because I just kind of saw it out of the corner of my eye. So it's just a real shame that happened. I don't know.
So I'll start off by saying, like, I kind of had a front row seat to that, so I'll just give a quick description. But overall, the people that were there for the event, I did not have any bad behavior. And I've noticed this, like, at every event I go to for Fab, I think we have a fantastic community. And that isn't just at the gaming table. I think we self-police very well as a community, and I think we have, bar none, probably one of the best communities out there as far as positivity and good behavior. That being said, there was an instance that happened on Saturday, right about the time they were doing the judging for the contest, or maybe we had just done the awards, I don't recall. There were some individuals that walked in that were not a part of the event. They just kind of walked in and nobody was watching the door. And I was right next to the door in my giant mech suit in front of the big metrics backdrop. And they kind of surrounded me, and it was very intimidating because they were making jokes about pushing me over, seeing if I would fall, or trying to grab at the mech costume, which is kind of delicate, but also I'm 1.5 feet in the air, off my feet. So at 7 feet, if I fall, it's going to hurt me real bad. On a concrete floor. So my friends, luckily I had a crew with me, and we were all just trying to diffuse the situation. It was just kind of like a kids being kids situation, we were all kind of dumb at 12, or however old they were. And my individuals that were with me, my crew, kind of just said, "Hey guys, like, leave her alone, like, please don't touch her. We don't want to have a problem here, And so luckily I kind of diffused it by, one of the kids was trying to poke at the costume and asking about it. I was like, "Do you want to touch the hand?" Knowing that it could get broken, but I'm like, let's see if this diffuses it. And he played with the hand a little, and then he kind of left me alone. At which point he got distracted by Matt/Flake on the stage, and they moved on to go pick on him for a bit. Yeah. I actually talked to Matt the other day for something else, and I was like, man, thank you so much for distracting the kids for me, because that could have turned out really poorly if things got aggressive. So luckily it didn't. And we all diffused it. People went home fine. It was totally good. And I didn't have any bad behavior. But what I will say is just one thing for the community, and this isn't bad behavior. It's just sometimes there are times, and like with me in the Mac, where you're rushing to get somewhere. You're like a character at Disney. You have your head off. You're eating a sandwich. Something's broken. You're trying to fix it. If a cosplayer looks like stressed, or they're trying to get somewhere, just understand if we tell you, like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. Can I catch you later for a picture?" It's nothing against you. We love, at least I love, and I'm pretty sure you do too, John and Lynnette, taking pictures with fans. Like, we love it. Like, it's so fun. Why else would we do this? So, but if I say, "Hey guys, sorry, later," I'm not trying to be rude or mean to anybody. It's because there's something wrong. I'm trying to get somewhere. I'm rushing to the bathroom. I'm shoving cheese in my mouth right before the competition, and I just need a second because I'm ready to pass out. So
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure we caught you in one of those moments. I know we were leaving the venue. That's when we crossed paths, and my partner was like, "Oh, can we take a photo?" It wasn't even. Yeah, it wasn't even me who asked. It was my partner.
No, I felt so bad that I didn't get pics with her. So Lynnette, there was a corral where all the cosplayers were in before the event, and unfortunately, I couldn't really enter the corral because I was too big. So I kind of got stuck outside of it, and then I kind of got surrounded by like half the convention center wanting pictures, which is fun and amazing. I just felt bad because I couldn't visit with all my cosplay friends. And so afterwards, like, I was walking and I was booking it because we were trying to get me out of costume because I was on 36 hours no sleep. And they needed me out of it. And you guys stopped me for a picture, but I was so excited to take a picture with you. I didn't realize my wig was falling off and I looked like a mess. But
I didn't even notice in the photo until you pointed it out.
All right. I was so happy you guys stopped me and asked me for a picture. I wish I could have stopped and talked to you more. Like, I was sad that I didn't.
Yeah. So, we get to the competition. How did you guys feel about? Was there anyone in the competition that you thought, "Hey, I really like that. They stood out. They may not have been a winner, but that you felt that their work was really good"?
There were a few I thought they were really good that didn't place, to be honest. The Kano I thought was really well done.
Yeah.
They had smoke effects on the staff, light up staff. The smoke didn't work on the stage, unfortunately, but the costume itself looked really, really well put together. So I can't wait to see what they do moving forward. I think the Leave No Witnesses was really well done. I didn't get to see a lot of their performances because I was actually second last in the line. So I didn't get to see any of the performances really. I know the Azuri, he put a lot of effort into the scale peeler weapon he did. Looks phenomenal, I think. And then the equipment looked really well done as well. There were quite a few that I think were really well put together. I don't know if any more stick out to you, Rachel.
Yeah, I mean, first off, Kano, right off the bat. I thought the Kano was incredible. Shout out to him. It was just, wow. That was so well done. Like, he left out the page and the facial expressions. My friends and I were talking about that. He had like the perfect Kano smirk.
The cheeky grin. Yeah.
That cheeky grin. And I was like, oh, you are Kano. Oh my God. You're more Kano than I'm Dash. I love it. And so that costume was one of my faves. Also the ones you pointed out, I think it was the Ray group that had the whole let's just call it the family. That had Azuri and the Leave No Witnesses, and there was one other, and it broke my head. Was it Azalea? It was like a.
The arrow. It's I've been saying it in Discord all day.
Grapple.
It's Grapple? It's the one with the hook. Barbed undertow.
Oh, the one that
barbed undertow. Yes, and they did an incredible job. Yeah.
But he had Crow's Nest, so he actually said he was cosplaying as 3 different cards because he had Crow's Nest on his back, and then he was using Death Dealer as the bow, but the main pose was Barbed Undertow.
Yeah, that group was
and
incredible.
It was not a real weapon.
No, their stuff was incredible. The scale peeler was off the charts. I stopped him to see that. I think it's Jimmy that I stopped to see that, and that was so cool. Shout out to my friend. I'm going to give her a shout out. My friend Holly, she was swarming Gloomvale. She worked very hard on that costume. That was so heavy. She looked so good. I was so proud of her.
Amazing.
She looked amazing. And then one other I would say is what's the character's name? This is the one that Carolina did back in the day. No. It's a card.
Exude Confidence. Yeah, she was really
good
as
like
well.
A brain fog there. Exude Confidence looked fantastic, but everybody looked fantastic. I can't think of like it just there's so many of them. I was shocked at the number of cosplayers, but also just like wow, blown away by the level of work and commitment.
From afar, I would have picked out actually a lot of the same ones you guys picked out. There was a lot of cool photos from Jimmy. No,
Jimmy.
Guy,
I think it's Jimmy Ray. Maybe
Jimmy Ray.
I'm sorry if I get that wrong, and he's watching this.
He has got quite a Twitter presence at the moment, and I saw the Death Deal, I saw the things he was making, and I was really impressed. And they did their costume as a family, so I've been following what they've been doing, and I think it's been a really great experience for them. They're really looking forward to. We'll probably touch on it later. There's another event coming up, which is Lake Frigid. I think it's
Battle at Lake
Battle
Frigid.
Lake Frigid.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's in
they're
like
going to
2
have a
weeks, I
cosplay
think.
competition
So
there. Yeah, so
May 19th to 21st.
yeah, I wish I
yeah.
could go. I can't that weekend, and I'm jealous, but I think it's going to be a great event.
Yeah, so and
Yeah.
also that the facial expression, like the group photo for Kano, that came through really loud and clear. And I believe he worked with his fiance on that project. I think the fiance is more of the
The
sewer
fiance
type.
did the costume.
Mm.
The person who modeled it's the fan of Kano. Yeah.
And he's brilliant.
Yeah.
Great team. So moving on from that, we're going to well, we can probably talk about, there is a few more competitions coming up. There's Antwerp as well for a cosplay competition this coming month as well, and I believe the Lake Frigid one is actually a Road to Nationals double hitter with the other one that's
Mana Lounge as well as WNY Gaming. I think those are the two.
That's the one. Yeah. So that's great. Some great events coming up, and there is a few people from Europe in our Discord that are really excited for Antwerp. I hope I pronounced that word properly.
I think so.
So and then what are we looking forward to in this next month? Fab related or cosplay?
Well, I know Jimmy. Yeah, it's going to be a huge Road to Nationals month.
Yeah,
I know Jimmy was actually last in line, so me and him got to talk a bit. He invited me out to the WNY convention, which I may go to because I'm not doing anything on the Saturday. I'm judging the Sunday, though. That's going to be my locals, Harry Tarantula. So I'm judging their draft for Road to Nationals. I don't think I get to participate in any because I think I'm working every other weekend. It just so happens that since that's my weekend off, I'm actually free the Friday and Saturday too. So I might drive down to New York, go to the convention, see what it's like, and come back up. It's going to be a busy weekend though, so we'll see if I can actually.
You gonna cosplay? You're gonna bring Taipanis with?
I mean, I'm considering it. I do feel a little bad though wearing it again, but I mean, I don't have anything short notice, so if I go, and I'm sure they're all going to be wearing the same ones that they all worked on too. I think that was.
Don't feel bad. You worked hard on it. I've worn Dash 4 times, and you know what? I'm actually in the process of rebuilding her starting this month from scratch, like the old Dash. So.
I'm actually working on a few things to add to my costume currently to finish it because I know cosplay is never finished. So
never finished.
Like art.
Yeah. Rachel.
Yeah, I'll be grinding nationals this month, qualifiers. We'll see how it goes. I've got a couple I'm going to, and then we've got our big Min-Max RTN is I think June 3rd. You know, Min-Max always puts on big events for that, so it lowers my chances of getting in the top 4. But on the flip side, I get to see so many people come into the local area. I'm so excited to see all my friends that I don't get to see a lot, you know, from the broader area. So I'm looking forward to that. And actually, you know, as you were saying, work is never done. I'm redoing a couple of pieces of the mech in case Nationals is close enough to drive. I will bring it for fun. Just because, you know, I put so much of my soul into that for like 6 months that to wear it for 3 hours is not enough. So I'd love to do that again with my pit crew. And I'm starting my costumes for this fall. I've got 2 that I'm working on, one for Nats, one for if I get to go to Worlds, that would be great. And so I'm starting work because you know what? I really don't want to be in my hotel room at 2 a.m. painting again. So I'm trying to get ahead of it. So I've got like 4 different costumes I'm starting work on this month. Redoing Dash, fixing the mech, 2 question mark costumes. I'm not teasing them yet, but yes. Working on. So that's what I'm working on.
I'm at to be tight-lipped on my future projects too, just because it's like I know you've been like that for you, and I like halfway through working, I was sharing so many photos. My partner's like, "Stop it! People are gonna know how well you're doing, and then they're gonna start upping their game." And I'm like, "Oh, that makes sense. Maybe I'll stop posting my photos." So near the end of my work progress, I stopped sharing. I don't know if you guys noticed.
So I did not share because I was like, "Oh, people up their game or anything." I badly wanted to share with you guys. There was 2 reasons why I didn't. One, I was so far behind, and I was embarrassed by it. Like I almost didn't come out.
You were worried if you didn't finish.
My friends had to pep talk me at 2 p.m. to be like, "You need to come down here," and I was like, "I'm going to not do it. I'm dropping out of the cosplay contest. The mech isn't ready. I'm not ready." And they're like, "I'm going to come drag you out of there by your feet." So there was that, but also because you know, Flake, he wanted me to be on ISP, and we had dinner a couple weeks before, and he was like, "I want you to come on ISP." I need you to be quiet about your costume though. And he was like, because he wanted to get to like, reveal it. And so I was like,
he wanted the grand reveal.
he wanted the grand reveal. And so I said, you know what, because we are friends, fine, I will do that. But I was like, it was so hard to be quiet, like so hard.
Yeah.
I had a few anxiety attacks throughout the journey because it was like coming up to the last week and I was just like, I'm not going to finish. I don't think I'm going to finish. And then it was like literally every day that whole week, I was just like, I don't know. My girlfriend was like, I think your negative energy is rubbing off on me. And it's like, I know you're not doing it on purpose. But she's like, I'm getting anxious because you're getting anxious. And it's like, I'm just so glad I did, finish enough to wear it. Right. So it's good.
Same. But it needs some work. The saw is going to be rebuilt. The cage is going to be rebuilt. Yeah. My work is never finished. No rest for the wicked.
For me, it's the amount of dragons. Like I could always paint more dragons. So
yeah. I remember you asking.
Takes so damn long.
Do I need more dragons? Or do I need more?
Yeah.
I just realized I painted on the back. I need to paint on the front as well.
Yeah.
For my month, we don't have as many big events here. I'm just waiting for the announcement of the Australian calling because that's going to be my first step. I actually haven't traveled an awful lot. I think I'd only just gone out in New Zealand just before COVID hit and all the restrictions, and New Zealand basically closed down, so we weren't going anywhere. So I'm really waiting for the announcement of the Australian calling because that'll be my stepping stone for this year, and then hopefully in the future I'll go a bit further afield. So that's what I'm waiting for.
This was my first trip since the COVID lockdowns as well. Like I hadn't been out of the country in several years, I think, actually. And then I just happened to not actually need time off for this one. It lined up with my rotation perfectly. And I just had to get my passport. So that one kind of came in late March. So that it was like, hopefully it comes in time. So
yeah.
Well, we're glad it did.
Yeah.
I've got a few friends that are grinding for Road to Nat, so they want me to be their ranger specialist because that's what I do. Azalea and Lexi. I'm by no means a top player, but I understand them enough that if they give me one of the decks, I'll just run it and be able to help them out with their training. So for me, it's trying to work on this costume. I'm thankfully watching all you guys developing and asking questions through Discord and in the world is actually making me work a little bit harder. I'm going for probably, I've already spoiled it anyway. I'm trying to work on Shiana, but I'm very stuck on the corset at this point. So, but I think once I get that done, the rest will be easier. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think that's where all the detail is too. So.
Yeah. So
all those little buckles and everything, it's gonna be so cool though. I just keep picking at it.
Yeah, I'm just trying not to make it too heavy, so it's trying to find the fabrics that'll make it not too heavy, because otherwise I will be like very hot.
Yeah. No brocade.
It's like the foam effect, If everywhere foam is, you get hot. So it's layers.
Oh, I know.
I'm not your friend.
I mean, I
didn't.
You had a lot of layers.
Cheap out on my costume either. For me, mine was, I had like the whole underneath of the black outfit was an entire outfit itself. And then I had massive red sleeves and then the red middle part draping over me. And then the big shoulders on top of that. And then I had a beard and a wig glued on. So it felt comfortable for the first little bit, but near the end of the day, my shoulders were just killing me. Like all that weight, all that fabric just like pulling down on me. Right. So
things have ended up
keep it light
than I thought. My costume is 35 pounds.
So that kind of leads us to a comment that another question that came from our Discord. I'm afraid I'm not giving the names of the questions, but people will know who asked the questions. Making our costumes more comfortable. So I know that I learned the hard way that you need to get good shoes. Because I was going to say that's my only stilettos like that tall.
Number one.
And I paid for it. I couldn't walk for a whole day afterwards. So I've learned from that I always make sure I get good shoes first. But is there any other ways that you guys work to make it more comfortable in your cosplays?
I picked up some Kung Fu shoes to wear. I like them because they looked like they would be very comfortable. They're kind of like a cross between like a soft shoe and a slipper almost. My shoes that I was going to wear before were actual like the two-toe ninja shoes. They're also kind of comfortable, but they're hard to wear in for long periods of time. and they can like rub up on your ankles. So I mean, again, it's the shoes. Like if you have something comfy to stand in for hours, I think that's where most discomfort starts. Also, the fabrics I picked, even though I did just say that they were heavy, it didn't start to get heavy till later on into the evening. I know when I was picking up my fabrics, I was touching them. I wanted to make sure they felt nice on my skin. I didn't want to pick up any like cheap cottons or stuff like that could be scratchy. So like, I don't know if that's like a number one tip, but I wanted to make sure that the fabrics that I was going to use to make the outfit felt comfortable. I mean, that's all I have. I mean, this is my first cosplay. I don't really have too much else to add other than I think for me it was just make sure that the clothes felt comfortable to wear, and that you had good foot support, right? I mean, I'm sure Rachel has a ton to add for comfortability with her mechanoid. So
tip number 1: don't wear a 35-pound nitro mechanoid costume. Is tip number 1.
Don't use stilts.
Don't use stilts.
The new Discord user from Sweden, don't use stilts.
Stilts, yes.
Don't
he was talking
it.
about it. I'm like, man, we had a private message thing going on the side. I'm like, I will tell you if you're going to wear them what to do, but blah, blah, blah. So anyway, no, don't wear stilts. Don't wear a nitro mechanoid costume where it's 35 pounds when you're 125 or less. It's a lot of weight. But I would say just, all that aside, that's funny, haha. Really check your fittings and your straps if you're an armored, because I'm more of an armored cosplayer than a clothing style cosplayer, and I suspect I'll be that for a while. So if you're armoring, there's a lot of different methods to do strapping, and I am always available in my DMs in the cosplay community Discord.
Mm-hmm.
If you have questions about that, because I've gotten a little experience in it between Dash and this, and making sure the buckles don't rub, that they're fitted right, they're not hanging weird, you're not getting bound up. Another big tip of mine from Dash, corsets, make sure they fit well. Every time I wear a Dash, I have bruises on my hip bones. It's just probably my body shape, but it always puts bruises in me. And then finally, bathroom. Make sure that your clothing doesn't have to come completely off to go to the restroom. Blake asked about this, and I was like, literally Dash, because of the belting and the leg straps and everything, has to come completely off. And that's a pain if you're trying to run for a body break. So make sure you can get things in and out easily.
I don't think I would have been able to go to the bathroom in mine too, but that was probably more of a personal preference. And well, my shoulders are 42 inches, so I mean, my
trying to get through the
pretty wide. I had to turn in. But like the thing is my sleeves were also floor length, so I wouldn't want to be dragging those across a bathroom floor.
The dirty floor.
So I probably could have used the bathroom if I really, 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 really had to, but it definitely wasn't an easy costume to use the bathroom in. So that's definitely try to plan something if you need to use the bathroom. That's for sure. I actually just thought of a couple other tips while you were talking, because I did some of the clothing that I think was probably clothing. I did it as armor. Like the waistband's probably like a leather waistband. I made it an armor piece. The gauntlets, I think, is just part of his black sleeves. I made those an armor piece too. I originally did them as Velcro. And then, so I used the saran wrap trick to measure, how big to make them. But that didn't really account for all the layers of fabric that are going on underneath. So it actually fitted a little bit tighter than it needed to. It actually worked out in the favor of my costume because you couldn't see inside the armor, which was intended. I didn't want you to, but because it was very rigid. So if it fit looser, you probably would have been able to see inside and it wouldn't have looked as nice. So the fabric kind of padded it out, but the Velcro was a little snug. It was actually kind of comfy. I had to position it. I had to find the perfect spot to rest it for it to feel comfy, but it was a little tricky. The gauntlets, I originally had Velcro gauntlets. These ones actually broke on me. I ended up cheaping out and used an automotive underbody carriage spray on these, which does get very brittle. And so I wore them last year and they were actually fine last year. But then when I went to get everything ready this year, I guess they had been laying kind of flat. And then when I went to kind of Velcro them together, the whole thing just kind of like cracked. But on top of that, I thought, well, I could sand these and I could respray with my new Plastidip and I could just remake these. But they fit really tight. And again, I think that comes down to when I was modeling them, I modeled them off my skin. It didn't take any fabric into consideration. So there wasn't a lot of tolerances for where the Velcro could rest. And I mean, you probably could make it fit a little looser, but then you would see a lot of the Velcro, and I didn't like that either. So for fittings, for armor, definitely try to make it so that they fit comfortably and that they do fit. And all that. So the new ones I made, I just made it so it's like push my arm right through. It was one solid piece. So I didn't have to deal with them not being too snug or whatnot. So I made them a little bit bigger so I could fit my fist through it this time instead of having to Velcro them on. So it was one piece and it was comfy and it was easy, but
Yeah, I got a little tip for
take some
armor on
planning.
bearskin. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big part. But armor on bearskin, just one thing I'd add from my previous Dash costume that I'm remaking, and this is part of the reason I'm remaking it, is not just it's broken, but comfort. So we were talking about sweatiness of that material on your bearskin. One way, I won't totally solve it, but I found a little solution for myself is to get fleece or like sheepskin type stuff. It depends on what you're most comfortable with. Of some sort of soft, fluffy material and back it with it. And so
maybe
makes felt
could work too.
Felt could work too. Right now I'm using like a sheepskin because I'm using it on the leg straps. And so that they don't rub or pinch, and that helps a lot. I'm not a big fan of
I did
Velcro.
have this sleeve underneath for me, but I did feel the sweat. I felt like the
you will be clammy when you pull that off.
Sticking. It was clammy. It was clammy, but I did have a sleeve underneath.
The Dash costume is also getting thrown away because it's just it's like trying to clean a yoga mat is what I'll put it as. You need to spray it down when you get home with like gym stuff. So that's another tip. Get yoga mat spray. If you do a lot of bare skin against EVA foam, it will clean it. And so that's what I use. But yeah, I would say soft backing, and also zippers are your friend. A lot of people don't like zippers. It's one of the things I talked with some of the pro cosplayers at Worlds this year, and they were like, I like zippers. I don't care if it's a little less authentic. The ability to get in and out of them, they're comfy, they fit over everything. If you size them right, I like zippers on my armor.
I originally tried to do zippers for the gauntlets, but I bought the wrong kind of zipper. I bought the one that stays together at the end. And then I was like,
you reversed it actually.
No,
I'll add that actually. So I
tried reversing it. It still didn't work because it was too tight on the one end. Yeah. Because it would have needed to fully come apart. Yeah, exactly. It was the way I cut it.
Darn it.
So originally, but then I was like, I'll just go get Velcro. It's cheaper and it's easy. It's done. Because it was at that point where I just wanted to get the costume done. I didn't want to have to play. Yeah. Yeah. But then I didn't end up using the Velcro ones anyways. They broke. So
I've used a Velcro strap, but I used a double-sided Velcro strap. So I was able to put the fluffy side on my armor and then use the double-sided strap is actually not as itchy as the Velcro. It's more like a nylon base. So if you are doing a Velcro, double-sided Velcro is actually quite good because it is actually nice and fluffy and actually comes on really nicely. It's a weird invention, yeah. So it meant that I could put the strap around my hand solid and then put with the fluffy side in and then put the Velcro straight on top, which meant I could have adjustments for if I got fat wrists or something happened.
Yeah, I think I even tried to give myself like another I don't know. I remember even though I measured around myself, I think I gave myself a little bit of tolerance and it still ended up being too tight. So I think that's one of my measure.
Mm-hmm.
Try to
and then
get
tear it apart as you said and re-glue it.
Yeah. Well, that was the shoulders because the shoulders were actually a lot bigger originally. I had a lot more pieces to them and they actually connected in the middle because again, you can't really see past his beard in the outfit. So I was like, I don't know what this part looks like. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I had them connect a bit because I was looking at Kano and I'm like, well, maybe I could take some influences of his armor and add it to Taipanis. So I had some pieces in the middle and it just wasn't fitting right. And then I felt like it was because it was too big, it was too wobbly. So I ended up tearing pieces out, re-gluing them. And I went through so many different iterations until I was happy with the armor. And then it wasn't until I added the sash to kind of like quasi hold it together by like overlapping it just slightly with glue corners that it actually kind of finally held. And I was like, okay, this is it. So it's a lot of tearing stuff apart. So.
Okay. So thank you both so much for being a part of this. I really appreciate you being part of our very first podcast this for the Shapeshifters of Rathe. I'm hoping people really enjoy this. So again, would you like to share your socials again and any last words? John?
So I'm Johnalexander on most Discords. I don't really know what the number tags are. Johnalexander on Twitter. I'm still trying to get access to it though. Their password recovery system is not working at all. And I'm Johnalexander on Instagram. I don't really use it. I remember I posted when I started Taipandas last year. I think I literally posted a picture of the staff I started to make, and then literally flash forward a year later, it's like, oh, costume's done. So I'm going to try to post a little bit more on my progress and stuff. And then, yeah, I mean, that's all I really have. I don't really do a whole lot of socials. So
I'm Rachel.
Yeah, I'm a little bit active on my socials, but mostly Twitter. MaxFerocity across all socials. I try to grab that tag wherever I go. So I'm pretty active on Twitter as MaxFerocity. I can also be found on Discord. Same thing. I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but it's MaxFerocity. And if you're having trouble finding me, you should join our cosplay Discord that Lynnette lovingly put together and hosts. And you can find me on there. I also am on Instagram, but I don't really use it. Maybe I will in the future, but I'm MaxFerocity there as well. Probably nothing worth following there, but you're welcome to. And anytime you want to reach out, I get DMs on Twitter and on Discord all the time asking questions about costumes, and people like, oh, I wasn't sure I could reach out to you, or I'm nobody. Feel free to reach out to me. If I have time, I will answer questions. And so love to hear people's cosplay experiences. So love to connect with you.
All right. Well, I'm Lynnette. I'm Fabledheronz basically everywhere, the same kind of thing as Rachel. I try to get that everywhere I go. So if you on Instagram and Twitter, I try to keep seeing what everything's happening. I also, if you're ever going on to, I haven't been on for a while, but I do get on and play Talishar sometimes, and that will be my tag. I don't play under anything else, so I think my tag's the same on Talishar
too. So.
Yeah,
if you see Johnalexander, that's me.
My tag's totally not the same. That girl that is called MaxFerocity that's really terrible at playing Dash, I have no idea who she is. I need to get a different tag over there, obviously, because she stole it. So. But yes,
and as Rachel mentioned, we do have a Discord. You can go and you can DM me or any of these people for an invite. I do try to check if you are actually cosplay based. I recently had someone ask for an invite, and it looked like a store, so I was like, hey, what are your intentions, because it is a community for cosplayers. I don't want to be like overrun with advertising or that kind of stuff. We're there to talk and help each other out with our cosplay journeys, so just be aware of that. If you look like you're a store, I may not let you come into the Discord. And we also have our Facebook page where I try to share all different news and then try and share that onto the fan group. I think it's hit over 200 members to that page, so that's quite great. We're just hit over 50 members in our Discord. So I may have to add extra moderators at this point, because I know John was having a hard time the other day with his moderation.
Well, yeah.
You were very busy.
I'm 90% of the problem. I'm sorry. Always off topic.
Yeah. And I know that our European moderator, unfortunately, when I asked him, we were only quite small. So I may have to talk to him about that too, because we're getting more European members on as well, so it's great. And I'm really enjoying getting on the Discord early in the morning when I'm getting ready for work. I can chat with all you guys, because it seems to be when you guys are all active over in the US, so it's been great. So thank you both, and I look forward to seeing what happens with this next month, and we'll see, and we may have one of you, or we may have different people on this next month. I'm hoping to get people that have attended both the upcoming Lake Frigid event and the Antwerp event. So that might be a fun one to get the times on, because there'll be Europe and America. So timing is always interesting with these. So thank you guys for making time to come on with me. And as always, support the Shapeshifters of Rathe.